They're fourth in total goals.
Yeah. And how successful have they been in the playoffs?
Not.
Yeah.
This-
That's why I'm like, okay, if they're great in the regular season again, it doesn't mean anything.
Right. And think of all the games that Sammy was really bad last year. That was like 3 months.
Is it wrong to say I don't give a flying fuck how different the team is in the regular season? I don't fucking care.
I think you should, because it's going to be indicative of... Okay, hold on. Bring it down.
No, okay.
I think it's going to be indicative of there's going to be a change in play. There's a change in philosophy afoot. Craig Berube is a different coach.
Yes.
Brad Treliving's a different general manager. And this defensive group, as you said in your Cristana video, this is the best right shot defenseman they've had probably since Yuskevich.
By a country mile.
Okay,
like,
so...
best of Riley's career.
So, yes, in a vacuum. I last year, I would completely agree with that statement. Here's why I don't this year. The ethos has changed. We did not see change until Treliving kind of came in. And even then, he didn't really have a lot of time to make a change. And he said, I don't like the blue line. We got to remake the blue line. He's remade the blue line.
Yeah, it was
there could be, listen, is OEL potentially overpaid? Maybe yes this year, but I think when the cap goes up $12 million over the next 3 years, I don't think people care.
It'll be fine.
I think it's difficult in a by the way, in a cap culture like this, where the cap is supposed to make gigantic leaps, barring some pandemic. It's difficult to sign a bad deal. It is.
Oh boy.
Because you're going up potentially by 10% over the next 3 years. That's a lot. Now, if there's a lockout, that completely changes things. I think we have to talk about this, because with the Toronto Maple Leafs, it does matter. This is a much different team than the Kyle Dubas years. It is. And so if we're going to look at that, and if we are going to talk about how they're going to do in the playoffs next year, the only thing that we're going to know is whether or not they're scoring playoff style goals by January. And if they're scoring playoff style goals by January and they're gritty on defense, I have higher hopes. That's my reason for tuning in.
Maddie, if you want to bring this up here, this is the roster Steve was asking for. Currently, as the Leafs are constructed, it's minus whatever forward that we think they need to add.
So you put Abruzzese in because there's no...
it's Cowan or Minton.
We need a left winger.
But I left Abruzzese in there. So for anybody listening, Nyes, Matthews, Nylander, McMahon, Tavares, Marner, Holmberg, Domi, Yarncroke, Abruzzese, Kampf, and Reeves. And then on defense, Riley, Tanev, OEL, Liljegren, McCabe, Hakanpää, and your extras are Benoit and Timmins.
Here's what I would say, Jesse.
Wool Stallars.
Here's what I would say. Because is that team cap compliant?
It is.
Okay, cool. Throw Timmins in the garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not playing in the NHL this year.
Yeah,
he's not a Treliving guy. He's going to be waived.
So how much space do they have right now?
They're at $86.7 million as their cap hit.
Okay, can you take...
Robertson would be that extra.
Oh, Robertson.
So Robertson isn't here because he doesn't have a contract.
That would push Holmberg down on the left side, right?
Yeah, he'd be the extra winger, or somebody would be there. Yeah,
right or left?
You want to? Maybe it's Nick.
He's both. He's left-handed.
Nick, you want to drop to the scratch, and then Robertson goes there.
Yeah. So the Leafs.
Yeah, the other Nick.
The Leafs typically only have one spare. This is how they get around like being cap compliant. Let's get rid of Abruzzese. Throw him in the minors.
So that's Nick's, the other Nick's spot.
Yeah. Throw him in the minors, and let's give Robertson, like, what's something that would for sure get the deal done?
I think $1.35 million probably.
I was gonna. Okay. I was gonna say 1.5. Let's give him 1.35.
So I'm just gonna put Timmins there. If it's 1. It's 1.1 just for the sake of time and everything. Timmins is 1.1. Put your imagination that's Nick Robertson.
Yeah, he sure looks like him.
So there you go. So it would be cap compliant.
$1 million. So that would give them like $800,000 to spend.
Yeah.
This whole they're gonna go out and spend on like a top set, like, with what? Where?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
And I think the interesting thing is going to be, to me, a lineup like that with Robertson signed, the glaring weakness up front is center. You need a third line center.
So Adam, the roster you're talking about that you're confident in is going to be performing a little better next year because they have this defense, but the forward group looks like this. Are you talking they make an adjustment to this forward group going into next season?
I think
or
they
is
will.
This lineup in particular you're confident in?
Well, I think they're going to make adjustments. I think if everybody's saying they need a winger, I think they need a center. And because I don't think Max is a full-time center.
What if you did Holmberg, Yarncroke on the left, Domi on the right? Because Domi played right wing.
Yeah, it's fine.
I don't
that look a little
that
better?
Doesn't.
Yeah, Holmberg. I like Holmberg at center.
Okay,
Right, but that's not changing what we're talking about.
Yeah. I think
No,
my point is
You're getting way too in the weeds of the lineup.
Too granular.
I think my point is that I think that they'll need what they hoped to be able to retain with a Ryan O'Reilly light. Like, I don't think they're going to get a Ryan O'Reilly player, obviously, but I think they're going to need that. And I think they got the summer to figure that out.
So how does that come about? Is it who comes? Because somebody needs to come off the roster, as we see with the roster currently constructed. It's about $800,000 under the cap. So what happens here to fit that player?
The obvious one for me is and I just said, if you trade Kampf, you got to replace him. In this scenario, you would.
Yeah.
To me, David Kampf has got to go the other way with whatever trade, and maybe that regard. Like, listen, David Kampf is a very useful player. People always kind of they give him shit, but like, he's a good penalty killer. He's a good defensive forward. You can rely on him to not score any offense, but to do defensive things. You can
usually does well in the playoffs. If I'm not mistaken, he was on the ice for the tying goal in Game 7. But.
Holmberg is a guy that I go, okay, there's a fourth line center. I feel comfortable with that. You need somebody between Domi and Yarncroke. And
they're worried about their penalty kill, and they're going to get rid of David Kampf.
I don't know if they're as worried about it. I think the problem with their penalty kill was the defense.
David Kampf is like Schrodinger's penalty killer. Like, he's important to their penalty kill, and also their penalty kill is bad.
Yeah, that's and I don't think the forwards were the issue. I think if we look at
it was goaltending.
Well, goaltending, absolutely. But I also look at how many times are they going to throw TJ Brody out there and watch him get caved.
Oh, it was brutal.
And it's not TJ's fault. He had a brutal offseason. Well, it is. It's unfortunately the people are saying TJ Brody fell off. I'm a little more bullish on that guy. I think he's in Chicago now. TJ Brody, wherever he signed, and I think he'll be good there. Mm-hmm. But I feel like your 3C is the big opening. And if you can find somebody, I don't know how many free agents there are left, but if you can find somebody that can push for a 4C or a 3C on this team, you can't have Kampf at 3C. You can't.
The one thing I will say that's going to help them offensively is they have better puck movers on the back end now.
Agreed.
Tanev can move it, although
OEL can move it.
You probably put the puck on Riley's stick more. OEL can move it. Liljegren can move it.
And I see Benoit McCabe being the third pairing.
With Hakanpää as the extra.
Yeah.
Trading Liljegren would open things up.
Well, you know what's interesting? So he's signed a $3 million like just now. And I'm like, well, I guess you're not trading him. That's not what CJ said on the most recent episode of the Chris Johnston show. He talked about how they're still trying to do it.
I think.
By the way, enjoy this while it lasts, because we got 2 more days of this website, then it's gone.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about Liljegren is that $3 million term for a right shot defenseman who's his age and could have upside has a lot of value. Mm-hmm. The Anaheim Ducks are still 8.8 under. There are moves coming, guys.
Under the ceiling or the floor?
The floor. So there are moves coming, and I think Anaheim's going to do the smart thing, and they're going to weaponize that cap space as we get closer to camp. And so, I see a couple of guys there. Camp's contract it's tough for a fourth line center on this team with this structure to do it.
It's just too much.
Timothy Liljegren, I actually like him on the Leafs defense because he moves a puck, and this is a guy. Are you putting Marner on defense there, Jesse?
What are you doing?
But I do think the team is better. I think it's incomplete, though.
Now
they need a centerman.
Matthews in net.
Matthews, second line right wing. No, put him on the Babcock him. Put him on right wing, fourth line.
Fourth line, yeah.
Didn't get off the ice fast enough. That's hot.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it right now.
I was up there a long time.
Yeah.